脊椎小脳変性症、英語では SCA と省略されます。の発症機構、治療薬の開発に関する情報を説明する動画を日本語と英語で発信していこうと考えています。
I will release videos about spinocerebellar ataxia, SCA, and its treatment in both Japanese and English.
まずは自己紹介です。私は某地方国立大学に所属している研究者で分子生物学研究を行っています。しかし SCA の研究は行っていません。以前 SCA 患者の娘さんから質問を受けたことがあり、その後連絡は取らなくなったのですが、再び SCA の説明を始めることにしました。少しでも私の知識が誰かの役に立てれば幸いです。
First of all, I introduce myself. I am a researcher at a local national university in Japan, where I study molecular biology. Although SCA is not my research field, I once had an opportunity to explain the disease to a daughter of an SCA patient who asked me about it. We are no longer in contact, but that experience motivated me to learn more about SCA. I am now planning to start a YouTube channel about SCA again. While I am not a clinician or an SCA specialist, I hope that my scientific background and knowledge can help patients and their families. If my knowledge can contribute to even a small number of people, I will be very happy.
なぜ SCA の説明を始めるかというと、以前、遺伝子に関するブログをしていました。その時、SCA 患者の娘さんから相談を受け、安易に遺伝子検査を受けることを提案しました。知り合いのドクターに問い合わせたところ、遺伝子検査はカウンセリングの精神的ケアのもと行うことになっていることを初めて知りました。そのことを後悔しており、その罪滅ぼしのために再び SCA に関して説明を開始することに決心しました。
The reason I decided to start explaining SCA is as follows. Many years ago, I maintained a website about genes and molecular biology. One day, I received a message through the website from a daughter of a patient with SCA. She was worried that she might also develop the disease in the future and asked me for advice. At that time, I recommended that she undergo genetic testing. However, later, a physician friend told me that predictive genetic testing for hereditary diseases should be performed only with appropriate genetic counseling and psychological support. I realized that I had made my recommendation without fully understanding the emotional and ethical implications for the person involved. I have regretted that advice ever since. As a form of atonement, I decided to learn more about SCA and to share accurate scientific information about the disease. Through my YouTube channel, I hope to help patients and family members seeking reliable information about SCA. Although I am not an SCA specialist, I am a molecular biologist, and I hope that my scientific background can contribute in some way to improving public understanding of this disease.
月1回程度で新しい SCA に関する情報を発信します。分子生物学者で医師ではないので SCA の発症メカニズムや新規治療法の分子メカニズムについて説明します。専門家でなくてもわかりやすいように説明することを心がけます。そのため科学的には間違っている場合もあるかもしれませんが、あらかじめご了承ください。他にも YouTube 動画があると思うので、それらも参考にしてください。
I plan to release a new video about SCA every month. I am a molecular biologist, not a medical doctor. Therefore, my videos will focus mainly on the molecular mechanisms underlying SCA and on emerging therapeutic approaches that are being developed or studied. I will do my best to explain these topics in a way that is understandable to people without a scientific background. Although I strive to provide accurate information, I may occasionally make mistakes or overlook important points. I would appreciate your understanding if this happens. I also encourage viewers to consult other reliable sources, including videos by medical professionals and researchers. By learning from multiple sources, you can gain a more complete understanding of this disease. I hope these videos will be helpful to patients and their families.
第1回目は遺伝子について説明します。
This is the first video in my series on SCA. In this video, I will explain the basics of genes.
脊椎小脳変性症には遺伝性のタイプと非遺伝性のタイプが存在します。日本では約3万人の脊椎小脳変性症患者がいますが、その約3分の1が遺伝性です。遺伝性とは、親が脊椎小脳変性症の場合、その子供に病気が受け継がれることです。しかし、親が脊椎小脳変性症なら、必ず子供も脊椎小脳変性症になるわけではありません。それに関しては、後の YouTube 動画で説明します。さらに、遺伝性の脊椎小脳変性症にも様々な種類が存在しますが、多くの遺伝性の脊椎小脳変性症は優性遺伝します。これに関しても後の動画で説明しますが、それらを理解するためには、まず遺伝子とは何かを理解しなければなりません。
SCA can be broadly divided into two types, hereditary and non-hereditary forms. In Japan, there are approximately 30,000 people living with SCA. About 1/3 of these patients have a hereditary form of the disease. However, not all sons and daughters of SCA patients develop SCA themselves. There are many different hereditary types of SCA, and most of them are inherited in an autosomal dominant manner. To understand how dominant inheritance works in SCA, it is first necessary to understand what genes are. Therefore, in the following slides, I will explain the basics of genes before discussing SCA in more detail.
さらに、遺伝子を理解するためには、タンパク質を理解しなければなりません。我々は様々な生物学的な現象によって生きています。食事をとり、消化し、エネルギーに変換します。そのエネルギーを使って筋肉を動かし、行動をします。これらはすべて化学反応によって引き起こされます。これらすべての化学反応は様々な種類のタンパク質によって引き起こされます。このタンパク質が遺伝子から合成されるのです。
Furthermore, to understand genes, it is important to first understand proteins. Our bodies carry out countless biological activities every day. For example, we eat food, digest it, and convert it into energy. We then use that energy to walk, run, work, and play sports. All of these biological activities depend on chemical reactions that take place inside our bodies. Most of these chemical reactions are induced by proteins. Proteins are responsible for a wide variety of functions, including digestion, energy production, muscle contraction, and communication with the language. Importantly, all proteins are produced according to the instructions encoded in our genes. Therefore, to understand genes, we must first understand that proteins are synthesized from genes.
先ほども説明したように、遺伝子の機能は体の中で起こる化学反応を誘導するタンパク質を合成することです。すなわち遺伝子はタンパク質の設計図です。体の中で起こる化学反応はすべての生命活動を引き起こします。そのため、タンパク質のわずかな違いは人の性質の違いを生じます。タンパク質の違いは遺伝子の違いによって引き起こるので、結局、性質の違いは 遺伝子の違いによって起こります。例えば、顔形が違ったり、性格が違ったりするのは、遺伝子のわずかな違いによって生まれます。病気に対する感受性も遺伝子によって決まります。これらの性質の違いは、親から子に受け継がれます。よって、もう一つの遺伝子の働きは、その遺伝子という名前の通り、親から子供に性質を受け継ぐことです。すなわち、遺伝子というタンパク質の設計図は、親から子供に伝えられます。まとめると、遺伝子の働きは、タンパク質の合成と性質の遺伝です。
As explained above, one of the major functions of genes is to provide the information needed to synthesize proteins. In other words, genes serve as the blueprints for proteins. Because proteins carry out most of the chemical reactions in our bodies, changes in the structure of a protein can alter how fast a reaction occurs, when it occurs, or how efficiently it proceeds. As a result, changes in proteins can lead to differences in biological characteristics among individuals. Since proteins are produced according to the information encoded in genes, alterations in proteins are caused by alterations in genes. For example, genetic differences can influence susceptibility to infectious diseases, responses to medications, and many other biological traits. These biological characteristics can be passed from parents to their children through genes. This transmission of genetic information from one generation to the next is called inheritance. In summary, genes have two important functions. First, they provide the instructions for protein synthesis. Second, they transmit biological characteristics from parents to their children through inheritance.
異なった生物学的な性質は遺伝子の変化によって誘導されると述べました。すなわち、脊椎小脳変性症も遺伝子の変化によって生じます。たくさん存在する一遺伝子の中で、アタキシンと呼ばれる遺伝子の変化により、遺伝性脊椎小脳変性症は誘導されます。他の遺伝子変化が原因となる場合もありますが、遺伝性脊椎小脳変性症の多くは、アタキシン遺伝子の変化が多くを占めます。よって、今後はアタキシン遺伝子を中心に説明していきます。今回は遺伝子について述べました。遺伝子の働きは、タンパク質合成と性質の親から子への遺伝です。今回はここで終了します。次の動画をお待ちください。それでは失礼いたします。
As described earlier, changes in genes can lead to changes in biological characteristics. Among the many genes in the human body, many hereditary forms of SCA are caused by alterations in ataxin genes. I will explain ataxin genes and how they are involved in SCA in a future video. In this video, I have explained the basic concepts of genes and their functions. To summarize this video, genes have two major functions. They provide the instructions for protein synthesis, and they transmit biological characteristics from parents to their children through inheritance. This concludes today's video. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.